Notion is. As I'm sure you've heard by now, Notion released its new chart functionality quite recently, and it's already turned into an incredibly useful tool to allow us to summarize and get greater insights into the data in our workspace without having to create any custom reports or do things like exporting data to spreadsheets. And I've already updated quite a few of my Notion templates to include new dashboard pages, which contain a collection of reports to summarize data for quite a few different uses. So in this video, I thought I'd show you how I've set up those dashboard pages and kind of walk you through the way that I think about creating reports in Notion and highlight some of the more hidden functionality that's included in this new feature. So here I've got a list of the templates that I've updated so far. I'm just going to run you through how I'm using reports for project management, checking the status of content in my company knowledge base, managing goals, reporting on sales in a CRM system, creating content. And then lastly, I've got this sort of page here where I've also demonstrated how you can create reports which display a sort of key value that you're tracking. So something like a revenue figure from your invoices, and then compare that with a target number and maybe an overhead number here as well in order to have a sort of benchmark to compare your data with. And you have to use a little bit of trickery to set this kind of chart up. So I've created this example to explain how you can create this sort of chart as well. So first of all, if we go into our project management system, for a little bit of context, this is a fairly simple project management system, as the name says. We're just looking at projects, tasks, and then we've also got a meetings database in the template here as well. So if we go up to the reports page here, first of all, we've got this section which looks at our tasks. And here we're looking at tasks that have been created by week, broken down by the types of tasks. So we can see what the team is sort of working on or planning to work on over the coming weeks. And then we've got this chart here, which is looking at tasks that have been completed by week. And I really like this type of layout, which allow you to compare the inputs to your system with the outputs so that you can see, whether or not you are keeping on top of your new tasks or whether more tasks are being added than completed, and obviously which types of tasks are being completed from this list of tasks here so that we can make sure that the team are working on the right types of things. Then we've got this open by assignee view. The charts functionality includes this really nice chart layout, which allows you to display the profile picture of the users in your workspace when you're looking at things like tasks that are assigned to different members of the team. So make sure that your team updates their profile pictures and actually chooses profile pictures if they haven't already. And again, here we're looking at the tasks which everyone in the team is currently working on. So what kinds of things they are currently busy with. And then we've got this project completion chart as well, which just gives us a summary of the completion of our various different projects that we're currently working on, or maybe we've just finished. This progress calculation is based on the number of completed tasks which are linked to the project. So we can see here we've completed this project, we're making some good progress with this one, and we haven't made any progress with completing tasks for this one here yet. Then if we scroll down the page, we've also got this summary of our meetings. So here we can see it's been a fairly busy week between the 9th and the 15th, slightly less busy between the 2nd and 8th, and we're maybe only just starting to plan our meetings for next week. I really like this type of visualization option for your charts, which gives you a sort of heat map style view of your data. So the bars that are biggest are a darker color, which helps you to sort of distinguish them from the bars with the smaller values there. And the way that you can set that up is if you click the three dots on your chart and you choose a gradient color option, so not auto or colorful. Then you can go to more style options and just select color by value from here. And that's going to be the thing that gives you darker colors for bigger values. Then if we have a look at the past week by type summary, this is a nice pie chart, which is just showing which types of meetings the team has been spending their time on. So we've had quite a few daily stand-ups, obviously, and only one weekly review. And then following on from that, if we look at the meeting duration from the past week, we can see here I've spent the most time in meetings, followed by Marie, followed by Francesco. So you can start to get a sense of whether or not maybe some members of the team are not having time to work on other things because they're spending too much time in meetings. So if we go back to our company knowledge base next, this is a page which has been set up using Notion's wiki functionality. So we've got a collection of content inside these pages, contents grouped by team and category to make finding particular types of content easier. And obviously we've got this database sitting in the background here, which allows you to see details about the various bits of content there. So if we look at the reports page here, first of all, we've got the content section, which is displaying a breakdown of the content that's in the wiki, broken down by team. So we can see the people team has the most content, followed by product, followed by sales, followed by no team, so sort of general purpose content. And then we've also got a similar breakdown for categories. So again, most of the content that's been created so far has been guides for people who are just joining the team, followed by people who are interested in product info and working here, and a little bit of MISC content there as well. Next, we can see who has contributed the most content to our wiki. So I've created all of the pages here so far, as you would expect, and I've also edited all of the content most recently. So you can really see who's been spending time sort of keeping the content up to date and adding new content for your team to use. And then lastly, we've got this content freshness section, which is just looking at when pages were last edited and when new content was recently added to the wiki. So here, obviously, we've got quite a lot of content that was last edited in September, so it's nice and up to date. But obviously, over time, you're going to see these bars start to drift back through the previous months. And so that will be a good indicator for you of when particular content might need to be updated. Next up, if we look at our company OKRs, this system is used to track objectives and key results and assign those to various different teams and different individuals in the company. So fairly simple structure. We're actually just using a single goals database here to store all of our goals. So we have a nice flexible hierarchy and a nice flexible structure for recording our data. Our objectives are our qualitative, sort of high-level goals, and then the key results break those down into measurable steps that need to be taken in order to achieve those objectives. And if we have a look at the reports here, first of all, we've got this breakdown of the goals' different statuses. So here we can see that 6 of my goals are currently on track, 3 are off track, and 3 are progressing. And one of the features that I really like about this dashboard is we've also got this second view on this linked database view, which allows us to drill down and have a look at the data which is feeding into this report. So we've got exactly the same filters on this view, and we've sorted the view to display the goals in a sort of logical order. And basically we're grouping the data with the same grouping. So we're looking at off track, progressing, and on track goals here. So if we want to see which of the goals are currently off track, we can just switch over to this view and have a look at more details about these goals by clicking into the page just there. Next, we've got this type view, which just displays the status of our goals broken down by type. So our company goals are doing okay, they're progressing. We've got quite a few goals which are off track when we look at the departments, and then some goals which are off track, but we're generally doing a little bit better when it comes to individual goals. And again, if we want to drill down there and have a look at the off track goals, which are currently being worked on by different departments, then we can see those right there. Next up, if we have a look at the progress that we're making towards completing our goals. So far, the marketing team is doing best overall. So their goals are on average 71% complete. Sales is next, finance is furthest down the list there. So they need to do a little bit more work to reach their goals, or maybe they just haven't updated them recently. So that's quite a good flag for you to check that out. And obviously with this type of layout, you can start to create a little bit of competition. We've got the same type of layout here for our owners. So Francesco's ahead, Marie's next, and I'm in last, so I need to pick up my work a little bit more as well. Now we can take a look at our advanced CRM. This system is pretty advanced, as the name suggests. We've got a sales database, which is where we're tracking the sales pipeline. We've got a companies database for our companies that we are currently working with, or suppliers and other types of companies as well. We've got our list of contacts here and recent communication with those contacts, followed by line items and a catalog of products and services. So if we have a look at the reports here, first of all, we can see the value of sales which have been added to our pipeline broken down by month. So August was a good month. We're midway through September, so we're doing okay here, but maybe we could pick up the pace of our new business generation a little bit. Then again, we've got this side-by-side comparison here, which allows you to check out the one value of the sales in our pipeline as well. So of the $6,000 of new business we added to our pipeline in August, we converted $1,500 worth of that business in August. And then we're actually doing pretty well in September as well. So maybe some of these sales have come from August or an earlier month, and we've achieved $1,000 worth of sales in September. Again, we've got this view here, which allows us to drill down and see more details about the individual sales which are contributing to those numbers. And then if we scroll down a little bit, we can start to see where our business is coming from as well. So we can see the sources of the sales which were added to our pipeline. 2 came from cold calling, 2 came from cold email, 2 came from events. But then if we have a look at our won sources, it turns out that actually we've only won sales from cold calling, email, and newsletter so far. So where we've been creating sales from events, for example, over time we'll start to get a sense of, maybe it's actually not worth going to events so much because most of our new business comes from cold calling and cold emailing instead. Lastly, if we scroll down the page here, we can start to look at our stale sales. So these are sales which have not been updated for a little while. And obviously we should generally be speaking to our prospects fairly frequently. So we can start to see if there's sales which have only been updated in the last 30 days here, then probably Marie needs to do a little bit of work to follow up with some of those sales. And so do me and Francesco, whereas these sales are generally okay, but again, they could probably be updated fairly soon. And again, if we need to drill down there, we can see the last updated sales at the top of our list here and the most recently updated sales in our pipeline at the bottom of the list there as well. Then if we have a look at our content calendar, this is not a template that I've actually published, but I just thought this would be a nice template to use to have a look at ways that we can visualize some of our data as well. Very simple setup here. We've just got our creation view here, which displays all of the details about the content that we're currently working on, along with a content calendar, of course. And then we've got this analytics section here, which is where things get a little bit more interesting for our reporting, which is telling us basically the performance of our various pieces of content in terms of views, shares, replies, reactions, clicks, and profile views. And obviously, those are generic labels so that we can look at these stats across all of the different channels that we're posting content to. So if we scroll down the page here, first of all, we can see where most of our views have come from in the past month, for example. So LinkedIn is our best channel, followed by TikTok, and then X is maybe not worth the effort of creating content for. When it comes to shares, we're also doing pretty well on TikTok. LinkedIn is less effective for sharing, but it maybe doesn't matter so much because we're still getting some good views there, and we can start to see the worst performing channels there as well. Got same type of breakdown for clicks, same type of breakdown for profile views. One of the nice features of Notion database views in general is that you can assign different icons to the views, which can match the icons that you've used for the properties themselves. So that just helps your team to sort of recognize the various metrics that they're looking for a little bit more quickly when they know that they're looking for data from the views property and that has the same icon as the icon on the chart there. So then lastly, we've got this heat map style view again of our views. So you've got a little bit more data here, so maybe you can see how that looks and how nice that looks with a few more examples. We can actually see what time of day here is best for posting content in terms of how many views we get for that content. So it looks like 5 p.m. is the time when we should be scheduling most of our posts, but obviously we can do some drilling down and see some more details about which channels we're posting to there and make sure that those figures aren't being skewed by any other factors in particular. We can also see when most of our content gets clicks. So it looks like people actually have a little bit more time or a little bit more interest in clicking through to see more details and sort of read more about our content at 3 p.m. So maybe they have a little bit more time during the day. And so that might actually be the better time for us to post our content, because even though we get less views, maybe we do want to focus on getting clicks through to our website and obviously selling products to people or doing that sort of thing there. So I can give you some really nice insights into the performance of your content. And obviously a lot of these services have APIs which you can use to feed this data into your Notion database, so you don't have to manually copy and paste that data over every week or every month in order to get these kinds of insights. Lastly, we've got our combined values chart here. So this is where things get a little bit more technical, as I mentioned earlier. And basically all we've got is a simple database here. First of all, we've got a list of invoices which we're currently waiting for payment from. And we can see here the amount that those invoices are worth to us and when they're due to be paid. Then we've got this overhead list here, which is just a single entry for each month. And this is what we're using to set the overhead sort of target that we want to exceed in terms of the money that we're earning from our invoices. So if we have a look at this value formula here, it's just a very simple formula. It's checking the type of the entry. So this is the type property in our database. It's actually, if we have a look here, we can see that the type is overhead. The amount obviously is empty there. And then the value figure is there. So if the type is overhead here, we're assigning $80 to the value. If it's target, we're assigning $100. And if not, we're using the amount figure here. And obviously we're only entering an amount figure for the invoices. And so then we've also got this target type for our entries, which again are just being created, one for each month. And that's what we're using to sort of plot the numbers that we're using to visualize the data in our chart. So once we've got that set up, all we need to do is set the chart to show the invoice date. We're grouping that by month just there. And then we're omitting 0 values just to keep things nice and tidy. And we're showing the sum of the value column there to give us the totals from each page in each month. So obviously the sum of the target figure and the overhead figure is always just going to be 180 because we've only got one entry for each month. And the value for each entry is either $100 or $80. But we're summing the value of all of the invoices from each month, and that's what allows us to compare the value of those invoices that we're expecting to receive payment from with our target numbers and make sure that we are on track to exceed those targets. So if you just need to create new target and overhead entries in that example at the beginning of each month, you can use Notion's recurring page creation functionality to do that. Or if you need to create the entries in advance, then you can use a tool like Make or Zapier to create a simple automation and generate those entries for you as well. So I hope that's given you a little bit of inspiration and insight into the types of charts that you can create now when you're using Notion charts for work. There's a link in the video's description if you'd like to check out those charts and templates in more detail. Notion's got lots more exciting features in the pipeline, obviously things like forms and other functionality as well, which I'm lucky enough to have early access to. So stick around because I'll be making lots more videos about Notion's new features very soon.